We talked brewing with Phil Humphrey of 608 Brewing Company. We talked about the process of creating beer, the origins of 608, his favorite beer collaborations, and how 608 has upped the ante of brewing in La Crosse County. You can find more conversations on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is La Crosse Local.
My name is Phil Humphrey. I was born in Long Beach, California, and I got into brewing as I had a couple of buddies from high school that their brothers were home brewers, and then they kind of just picked it up when we were in college. I would hang out with those guys on the weekends. They lived up in the Stevens Point area, and I would just kind of start picking up on it. I still really didn't drink a lot of craft beer at the time, but I definitely enjoyed just being there, the smells and the process of making it, even though most of the stuff we made wasn't very good. But it got better over time. Friends kind of just passed it on to me, and I kind of took it and ran.
What was the origin of the 608 Brewing Company? Was it branching off from those early days of kind of figuring it out, or what was the process?
So when I homebrewed, I did it for a couple of years before I ever even had any kind of like branding, I guess, per se. A lot of home brewers kind of end up making up some kind of name for their little makeshift brewery, whatever it is. It's just kind of more fun to pretend like you have a brewery. And I had basically, I think it was about 2015 or so, I decided to, hey, I'm giving this beer away to people all the time. Might as well just have like a brand for it. And I lived in La Crosse area. So I was like, well, let's go with the area code, 608 Brewing Company. In the process of actually opening 608, people already kind of affiliated the name 608 Brewing Company with my beer. And rather than try to create a whole new brand, I was like, well, you know what, we'll just run with this. And, it fits the area regionally, which is kind of a nice touch. At first, I wasn't so sure if that was going to be a great idea or not. But I think we've sold a lot of apparel and things like that just because there's people passing through town and they want something to kind of remind themselves of their trip to La Crosse. Or it worked out in the end. But yeah, basically it was just a way to let people know who I was when I was making homebrew.
Collaboration seems to be a big part of your brewing schedule. What are some of your collaborations that you're most proud of?
I don't think we've done a collaboration yet that's been terrible. So, I'm pretty happy that they've all turned out pretty nice. We got one coming up here we're going to release in November that we did with Forager Brewery out of Rochester, Minnesota. It's a barrel-aged old ale, so I'm pretty excited about that. Old ales aren't beers you see a lot out there. It's kind of a blend of a lot of different malts, so it's more of a complex beer. So I'm hoping that when that comes out, that a lot of people will be excited to try something, that's not necessarily laced with tons of sugary adjuncts. That's kind of what we're known for, is some of our beers are a little over the top with the ingredients and stuff we use. But this one's more of a throwback to an older style of beer. It's going to be like chocolate forward and caramel, toffee. And then you get the barrel aged notes of like the oakiness and the vanilla. So I'm pretty pumped for it. It's also, 13.5% ABV. So
wow.
It's a big boy. So I think it's going to be perfect for the winter months coming up. It's the kind of beer that you don't need to drink 3 of them. You just sip on one for a couple hours. That was probably the one I'm the most excited for so far. It's the first of any of the collabs I've done that's been barrel aged. Well, I shouldn't say it's the first. I've done a few, but this is the first one that's being released. But other than that, I get excited every time we have a collaboration because you get to meet new people, or you get to link back up with old friends and then talk shop. And it's not like there's a ton of brewers around that I can just go randomly talk about stuff with all the time here. I do talk to the guys locally. Just nice to get different perspectives from different markets and what's popular in their area, and kind of helps shape how we decide what to make next. Because we're always trying to kind of stay on that bleeding edge.
Well, you kind of reference it there with your ingredients and the different sort of collaboration. How has 608 upped the ante of brewing in La Crosse County? I know Pearl Street Brewery has been in the market for about 20 years. In the last 4 years, we've had a couple come on board. How is your approach to brewing different?
We're looking at the markets of like the more craft beer heavy markets, I should say, and just seeing what's popular. It's kind of like music. Sometimes, music hits like the big markets and before it ever hits like our market, kind of forecast off what these other hyped up, more popular places are doing and what's taking and what's not. We keep trying to knock stuff out, just do different stuff all the time. I mean, if you would have told me I was making pastry sours and stouts 6-7 years ago, I'd have been like, I don't even know what those are. So we're just constantly trying to brew styles that the new consumer wants, because I mean, while still mixing in styles that the lifelong craft beer person wants. That's always been the kind of the mix, because I mean, we do have lagers on, we have some stouts that don't have a ton of stuff in them, but then at the same time we got the the fruited pastry sours and the milkshake IPAs, and it's almost like you could do whatever you want right now in beer as long as the end product actually tastes good. It seems like the new consumer is not really necessarily wanting their beer to taste like a beer, which is, to the diehard, they're like, they want a beer, like we don't want to taste all this weird stuff. Those are my favorite people because I kind of agree with them, but at the same time, it is fun to make a beer that tastes like a s'more. It's just, it changes it up. And I think that's what keeps us moving the beer as fast as we have been. And the fact that we're, dropping a new beer every week pretty consistently, sometimes more than one beer every week. It's that instant gratification culture. They don't want to drink. The new people don't really necessarily want to drink the same beer over and over again every day that they have a beer. Now it's the untapped culture, I guess you could call it, where they're checking stuff off, and it's more of I tried this once, now on to the next one. So I don't know how long that's sustainable for us. Long-term growth, the bigger you get, the harder it is to just pump random stuff out all the time. Right now we're small enough and that we have the flexibility that we can pretty much come in one day and maybe we had something scheduled, but maybe something else is doing way better and we're just like, all right, we're going that way now. That ability to pivot is huge for us. And I just think we're just going to keep doing that until we can't.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. You, of course, have to start small as a brewery, but it does seem like you have this access to do whatever you want. People want different beers on a weekly basis, but it's also you could jump out and do these different collaborations because you don't have that one flagship beer that you have to produce X amount every month. So the kind of chains are off for you guys, isn't it?
I love it. I think that's the most fun about it. It's like, I got a few friends who are chefs, and it's the same thing. If you're allowed to use that creativity, you basically have endless opportunities of what you could put out. And I think, as silly as it sounds, the crazier the idea, as long as it's executed well, usually the reward is great. It's kind of the whole no risk, no reward. We've had a couple flops, but, that's going to happen.
Sure.
Not everyone's going to love everything. And I mean, sometimes that's where the whole mix of styles comes into, you got to kind of keep something around for everybody. You can't just go all one way, but yeah, no, that's definitely been very, very fun. And I'm glad we have that ability currently.
What's next for you guys? I know, you got a canning machine, you got crawlers, you have ongoing releases. What's next that you're excited about?
Just added some more tanks, so our capacity is going up. We'll have to kind of see how this all plays out with COVID. But like we're hoping to, originally before the whole lockdown started in March, we had plans of starting to, make a little bit extra beer. Well, I mean, we're making as much as we can, but hopefully having a little bit extra beer to send out to different accounts throughout the state was going to be kind of like a staggered approach where maybe we would drop some beers in Milwaukee one month, and then the next month we hit Madison, and then the next month we might hit Eau Claire, and so on throughout the state, just to try and get our brand awareness up a little bit. We got some reach outside of the La Crosse area. It's more so the hardcore craft beer people that know who we are. We do want to get some beer into places, even in La Crosse, where we can, get the people in there talking about us as well. Because, I mean, if we don't ever have our product in a person's bar, whether they love our product or not, they have no reason to really talk about us and sell that product for us. Because well, they don't get to sell it, so why should they, tell someone to come to our place? And I've seen that, even in town where I've been at places, and they'll someone will ask them what craft breweries are here. Like, well, we don't even get mentioned because our beer's never been on tap there. And, it's a small town, so there's not that many breweries. So that's kind of where we want to go. We want to get some more beer out there. Like I said, the COVID thing's making it hard. So we're kind of right now just in that hold pattern.
That's understandable. So if people want to follow along, maybe know about those new releases and things like that and what's coming down the road, where's the best venue to send them?
We post everything on Instagram and Facebook, Untapped as well. If you follow the venue on Untapped, you'll get notifications when new beers go on.
Lacrosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at Lacrosse Locals. Subscribe to the Lacrosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.